the final score. Mansfield Town 1, Wrexham 2. Wrexham go into the second round of the Cup. And what a performance this was. A lot of good judges have said to me since what a fantastic result it is, because they feel Mansfield are the best team in the division. Well, I tell you what, maybe Wrexham are, because this was a superb performance. On a horrible pitch, it was soaking wet, absolutely soaking wet, a sopping night at Field Mill. And yet Wrexham showed a lot of heart to survive the conditions, to dig in and survive against Mansfield, and quite frankly, put in a fine performance. I thought the 0-0 at Field Mill earlier this season was a good result against a strong side, but in all honesty, this was different. We went at them a lot more, and we got our just desserts. So let's have a look through the game itself. Wrexham only made one change from the side. Anthony Ford was back in at right back, having not appeared since the Stockport match. And I've got to say, he looked really sharp. An excellent 66 minutes that he put in. That was the only alteration for the team that won at Notts County. And frankly, it was a performance of similar quality. We started extremely quickly, and indeed had a chance as early as the first minute. Ford knocking the ball down the flank. Brunt making an error. The ball falling for Dalby on the edge of the area, and he squared nicely for Cannon, who hit a shot which just skipped past the left post. A close shave for the home side, who then came back strongly. Keeler Dunn, the ex-Wrexham player, who was impressive throughout, feeding a good ball into the right channel to find Rhys Oates. Oates drove in the shot. Good parry initially by Okonkwo. The ball fell loose wide of goal. Oates raced to get a tap in, but well, we've seen Okonkwo do this before, haven't we? He was so quick to recover, get across and push the ball away. Absolutely wonderful stuff. But slightly concerning, though, that it was a sort of repeat of exactly what Stockport County were doing to us in that aforementioned match, when McLean got up the pitch, hadn't got back quickly enough, and Lee was filling in for him. Something we need to occasionally watch out for, perhaps, in the way we set up when we don't have the ball. Mansfield continued this little spell. Keeler Dunn doing really well and played into a crowded area in the D, turning and beating two men with his turn. But then he tried to shape it inside the far post and couldn't bear to bring back enough, and it went wide. But Wrexham really then started to take control of the match. In midfield, we were tenacious. The defenders were rock solid and repelling Mansfield's mobile attack, and we had thrust down the flanks as well. Big chance in the 18th minute. Dalby doing ever so well to pick up on the right and do something he did quite a lot last season. Just drove on himself, cut inside, engaged with the defender on the edge of the area, beat him, and then lashed in a powerful shot, which was superbly saved by Christy Pym. A great keeper, Christy Pym. And we will tell you what, he really earned his corner on this game, especially when Sam Dalby was testing him. Wrexham continued to push on. Later, Ford had a shot from the edge of the box driven in, which was blocked in front of the goalkeeper before 22 minutes into the game, Wrexham took a deserved lead. Again, it was a nice piece of interplay. Wrexham were really exploiting the gaps in the middle of the pitch well, and this was lovely. Ford cutting inside from the right in midfield, Cannon making a run from his own half, and Ford timed the pass perfectly, and Cannon's first touch was perfect, so that when it was rolled in and Cannon nudged it in front of him, it took out the entire Mansfield midfield. Cannon drove on, played a sensible ball to Dalby on the left channel again, and this time there was no saving it. A rocket shot slammed under the bar into the roof of the net. A magnificent finish. Even a shot stopper of Pym's quality had no chance, and Wrexham were in the lead. Now, Mansfield did try to fight back. Cargill, a left back, getting past a couple of players and pulling it back, but Reed's driving a shot wide from the edge of the area before Wrexham again started to threaten. Wonderful play by Lee, played in by McLean in a crowded area about 30 yards out. It looked like the pass was not accurate enough, but Lee just managed to get to it, and with two men on him, span as he controlled it and left both of them eating his dust. Fine pass then to find Dalby. He rattled another thunderbolt and hit the bar and flew back out. Tremendous effort. Mansfield weren't giving up, and had another opportunity when Cannon made a fine block to stop Cargill, who had a little bit of time on the left side of the box. But the end of the half was Wrexham pushing on, and they would have been disappointed to only be one goal up at the break. Firstly, an absolutely incredible double save by Pym to deny Dalby. I mean, what he had against him, I don't know. Dalby's first, I beg your pardon, the first strike was Lee, edge of the area, brilliant save. It dropped loose, Dalby smashed it back in, but Pym was really quick to get up and get into position and was able to block Dalby's goal-bound shot. Within a minute, another opportunity. This time Lee again prompting superbly, feeding Mullin in. And then, and this was something we saw throughout the game, a lovely one-touch interchange between Mullin and Dalby, a beautiful one-touch 1-2. Mullin in the left channel just took a touch, nudge it in front of himself, drove it across Pym, a brilliant parry once more. Pym actually, I think, was slightly out of position. I think he was anticipating the shot to his left, but Mullin drove it inside the near post, and so he had to make a big adjustment and made it superbly to push the ball around the post. But the danger was far from over. McLean's cross came in. Lee, as he does, about 8 yards out, rose and headed a really well-timed header on target. It was cleared from underneath the bar. But then when it came back in, a moment of huge controversy. The ball falling to James Jones, 25 yards out. He hit a left-footed thunderbolt. It was on target. Aidan Flint, the Mansfield captain, raised his arm, and it was a definite penalty. He raised his arm up to hit the ball. I'm not saying it was a deliberate thing. I think it's a reflex action. But when the ball's rattling towards you at that pace, you just move. And he moved his arm up, it hit the ball. Definite penalty, wasn't given. I'm not inclined to criticise the officials on this occasion. I think if you can see it, you give it. They couldn't have seen it, is the only explanation. And if you can't see something, fair enough. You can't really criticise someone for not awarding the penalty. But no question it was a cast iron one. Wrexham kept going, though, perhaps now with a sense of indignation as well, driving them on. In added time, another opportunity. Nice work, beg your pardon, down the left-hand side. McLean ripping in a fine cross. Mullin maybe just got a touch on it. It looked like he was unsighted. I suspect if he'd seen it clearly coming in, it would have been 2-0. He was 6 yards out unmarked, but the defender jumped in front of him, and I think that just took it out of his line of vision. Second half, Mansfield started better, trying to improve. Keeler Dunn fielding it down the right channel, Reed driving in a powerful shot, Okonkwo doing well to go down to his left and parry the ball away. Wrexham fought back with a big shout again for a penalty. Again, it was Lee opening the game up. Great ball down the right channel to Ford, who cut into the box, took on Cargill. Cargill stepped across him. Ford went down. The ref didn't give it. Now, right, I want to try and be fair as far as I can to give a realistic picture of what goes on in these games. So I think the way I can put it is this. I think Ford saw the opportunity to have contact and took it. But having said that, I think Cargill was incredibly naive to step across him like that. He certainly impeded Ford, because Ford had had to run a wrong way around and probably wouldn't have kept the ball in, having knocked the ball past Cargill, if he'd evaded Cargill's leg. The way I look at it, I said a few weeks ago when James McLean conceded a similar penalty, you know, whether there was enough contact to knock the player down, whether there was time to avoid that challenge, are fair questions. But the truth is, if you're daft enough to make a challenge like that, you deserve to be punished, really. And so I felt at the time that McLean deserved for a penalty given against him. And so by the same token, I felt this was a penalty. Cargill naively stepping in front of Ford, and Ford's running into the leg, I think, makes it a penalty. Anyway, it wasn't given, and Mansfield continued to have a good spell of pressure. Firstly, Oates working the ball out to Reed. He whipped a good cross into the near post. Bowery meeting it on the volley, couldn't keep it down and put it over the bar. Then there was a deflected cross which span across to Oates on the far post. He tried to volley it, but put it back across the face of goal. It went sort of between Keeler Dunn's left feet, about 6 yards out. But again, threat, but no chance on goal. And then in the 58th minute, it looked like Wrexham had grabbed control properly when Paul Mullin got a second. Long ball forwards by Okonkwo. And on this occasion, it was a mess between the defenders as the ball was driven against Flint by Brunt. Ricocheted around. Flint tried to stretch and make amends, but could only poke it to Dalby. He played a lovely first-time pass to put Mullin in on goal. But what a finish by Mullin, just looping it instinctively first time with his right foot from the edge of the area into the bottom right corner. A magnificent finish by Mullin. He seems to like the FA Cup. And Wrexham looked to be in the comfort zone. However, 90 seconds later, Mansfield had pulled a goal back. This was a great piece of work by Rhys Oates. He received the ball after a nice little flick by Borey, was taking on Evans on the right channel, got a bit lucky in terms of he tried to knock it past Evans. Evans got a foot in, but it bounced onto Oates' body and fell kindly in front of him. And then his finish again was excellent, smashed like Dalby's goal into the roof of the net, and Mansfield had a lifeline with half an hour left. They could have scored a minute later as well, as Evans was turned by Oates as he stepped up to attack the ball on the halfway line, pulled it back, but again Borey in the box just didn't show enough composure and volleyed the ball over. Wrexham's reaction, Dalby feeding Cannon driving it narrowly past the left post. We then brought Ford off and Mendy came on, and also then had a fast break where Mullen, driving inside, drove it in and once again was denied by a good save by Pym. Mansfield started to load players up and send them in. Wrexham reinforced the midfield with Young and with Davis, and up front Palmer got a run up against his old team, replacing Dalby, and run himself into the ground. Palmer getting a rough ride from the Mansfield fans, didn't seem to bother him. But Wrexham defended really well. Tried to keep a high line as much as possible, keep danger away from the goal. And there weren't that many opportunities. There was one in the 89th minute, Gale pulling it into the edge of the box, Maris turning and hitting a shot, but he put it wide of the target. In the first minute of added time, Wrexham had an opportunity thwarted by the pitch. Brilliant work by Mendy to win the ball back, drive up the pitch, feed it inside. Palmer played a good return pass, and it looked like Mendy was going to run clear down the right with Mullen and Marks in the middle, but the ball slowed up on the sopping pitch, and as a result, a last-ditch tackle denied Mendy. There were 8 minutes of added time, and Wrexham negotiated them pretty easily to pull off an outstanding result against a team which, let's not forget, before last Tuesday, when they lost to a higher division team, had been unbeaten in all competitions. In fact, if they'd avoided defeat on Tuesday, they'd have broken the club record, which they equalled last weekend. This was an outstanding result against a strong Mansfield team. Strong Wrexham team, though. Okonkwo was excellent, always confident. Shot stopping was supreme. Couldn't help it with the goal. Across the back three were terrific. O'Connor continuing where he left off against Notts County, very secure at the back. Won a few good headers. Tozer was also following on from that. Absolutely terrific. Just rock solid in the centre of the defence. George Evans had an excellent first hour. The last half hour he got caught out a little bit, sometimes because they'd sent Swan, the big target man, up, but he was beating him in the air, and then Oates also troubled him a couple of times, turning him. But having said that, he put in another very good performance. The wing backs, McLean did some good things, put some good deliveries into the box, some strong challenges, good energy. On the other side of the pitch, Ford was a delight to watch for 66 minutes. Great to see him get those minutes under his belt, and then Mendy came on, and again on the wrong side of the pitch did a good job. Centre mid, such industry. The sort of holding role, if you will, was Cannon, who, oh yes, until he came off after a wild challenge on him by Lewis, which got him a booking. I think the ref was just about right, but it was the sort of thing Wrexham players clearly wanted a red. I think the conditions might have made the referee feel, I'll just give a yellow. But Cannon was badly hurt and had to go off. But he was energetic. He was excellent. Again, on the front foot, driving forwards. Really impressive. And on either side of him, James Jones just constantly working. Fabulous to see. Really good, crisp use of the ball as well. He put in an excellent shift. And on the other side, Elliot Lee, terrific with his use of the ball. Terrific with his work rate. Some really good moments where he could just turn away from players and create a bit of space and create an opportunity. Fine performance by him. Up front, Mullen and Dalby combined superbly. Both of them put in fine performances, working their socks off. Mullen, a constant threat. Dalby, well, goodness me, if it wasn't for the excellence of Pym, he could have scored 3 or 4. There were a lot of really, really man-of-the-match worthy performances. In the broadcast, Colin Henry's picked James Jones, which I can certainly be happy with that. Jones was terrific again. I sort of afterwards was thinking, well, that's Dalby for goal threat. But having reflected again, Elliot Lee's got a strong case. I think I'll go Dalby. But yeah, a lot of strong performances by Wrexham and a superb victory. So we go on in the FA Cup, Yeovil Town next, with the final score of Mansfield Town 1, Wrexham 0. I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.